computer, but
Use my
trying to
phone
get
to roll it
that.
up.
I needed
Take a
Dan,
picture.
but
Dan was coach today. He did not have time today.
I know it. Oh my goodness, I think the chart of accounts will be, probably the easiest thing that we'll look at.
Yeah, it's half the size of what it used to be.
Now, seriously, if it got any smaller, I couldn't even read it with my glasses.
Listen, I can hardly see it with mine, and I'm just hoping that,
It's about time me to go get mine changed.
they're probably 25.
You know what somebody told me?
But you know, they got the shed.
Said you were like me. I said,
Long
what do you
the
mean?
shed
She's
or-
like, spit fire.
She could have been stealing the shed. I asked for it, okay. I seen that, and I'm like, I've always wanted it, okay.
I told him we had somebody in training.
One, and then it told me we had.
Yeah.
All right, guys, it's 7.
Okay.
If you want
Finish this.
Yeah, I finished it. You don't know. You better.
Here, I'm gonna finish this. Okay.
Well, we gotta get our, we gotta pay you.
Thank you. You got that one.
That big number scare you too?
You better believe it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they're out of ground.
Okay, it's 7:01. I will call the meeting to order. I will apologize for the fact that the microphones for the board are not working, so we will try and talk louder. And same with the microphone for speakers, so if you do come up to speak, please speak loudly. And we'd appreciate the audience being extra quiet tonight, just so everyone can hear. Phil, would you like to give us an invocation, please?
Heavenly Father, we come to you again, thanking you for the blessings that you give us, the blessing of this village that we have, Lord, and asking you again for your hand over top of our military, both across the oceans and at home, Lord, that you would protect them, that you would give our leaders wisdom on a national level and a state level, and even in this level, Lord, that you would be with our mayor and our board, that you would have them to follow your will, Lord, to do what's best for our community and for his people. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, is there any discussion on the agenda as submitted? If not, I'll take a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Any discussion on the March 23rd meeting minutes? Besides the one I had, which I forgot I had. I have one correction on it, on the approval agenda at the beginning. Dan was not here, so he could not have made the motion. I'm sorry, I meant to get it to you earlier. But
Approval.
the fourth paragraph down.
Approval of
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else have any corrections? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes with whatever correction Hannah defines.
I'll move that we accept them with correction.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Okay. My notes. Okay, we're now going to move into public comment for the agenda items only. Each speaker has up to 3 minutes to share their thoughts with the board. We will not necessarily respond or engage during this time in order to ensure an orderly process and allow more voices to be heard. Your comments are taken seriously and relevant matters will be referred to the staff or future agendas. Please state your name and address for the record if you speak. Do we have any public comment on agenda items at this point? If not, we'll move on to all business. Arnold, ORC report, please.
All right. Speaking to the market, speak. All right.
Yell at us on.
Yell at you. I try to. Collection system is all about Burke Station. The mayor can tell you a whole lot about Burke. He's spent a lot of time at work too.
I don't get paid enough for this crap.
That's the truth. Anyway,
Pun intended.
so since our last meeting, all 3 pumps have failed. We was down to, we didn't even have a pump. Jerry brought in a standby pump, kept us going. We had no overflows. He did keep everything going. We do have 1 pump in now, and another one should be in tomorrow. So please award the contract for Burke Station. I can get it fixed. So the last pump that went out pretty much was rag problem. So that was coming from the school. So
That was
what
the
has
hot
transpired? Yeah, what has transpired today is between Trent talking to the school and the mayor, they did accept a contract from Jerry today to put a bar screen in over at the school. So we'll probably get that bar screen ordered tomorrow. Over the next 4 weeks, we should have a bar screen in over there. They'll have to rake it every day. That'll be their problem. But that's what's going to happen over there. It just happened today. So put some phone calls in the background. So I appreciate it, guys. But that should take place. So the other stations, Pond and NC62, they're doing good. Distribution, we did switch over to chloramines first of the month. I haven't heard any complaints. So everything's good. So great. Where's that? You know, this first station fixed will be all right.
Did they ever say that they had held back on the chlorine this year versus the year before? Because it seemed like this year it wasn't nearly as bad.
It's not.
It was noticeable, but it was overpowering
Like
the
I
year
said,
before.
I haven't heard a lot of comments about it, so, which is a good thing, so it must not have been like you said, as bad as it was, but they went longer this year. They went for 6 months. And my understanding from the state is Burlington was having some issues in their town. And that's the reason they stayed on it longer, to take care of those dead end areas they had over there, just have to cross, so they want to burn those out. So that's the reason we stayed on this long, because of Burlington.
I didn't know if they adjusted concentration or something.
I don't think it was quite as high, I agree with you. So,
Yeah.
and like I said, the chloramine seems to have switched over good, so I don't know.
I got a question.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the right time or later on, maybe this come up about the school. So the school understands their responsibility in some of this. They understand that it's coming from their,
They don't want to accept that, but yes.
There's really no denying it.
Yeah, kind of, but what did you tell them, Trent? The next one will be on them?
Yep.
The next pump will be on you. That's like today. I think he told him that today, and Jerry got the contract today.
That's my friend.
Yeah, that's what it takes.
Are they aware that once you get this screen, that they're gonna have to daily clean it?
That's what they've been told, but you know how they are.
well, if it don't, does
So
it
that'll
back
be
up
on
in?
them. It'll be
Yeah,
on their school property, where that happens at. It won't be our property.
back up on them.
Yeah, and incidentally, which I don't agree with what they're doing, they're gonna put it on this side of the walking, place where they have to walk around the ball field. So there'll be a lot of people seeing it, so. I would have put it back in the school, summers on school property and maintained it a little better, but they want it out there, so whatever.
Well, at least there'll be quick notice if
That's
it's
right,
clogged
that's
up.
right, that's right. People I walk out all the time, so it'd be quick notice. I had suggested they put an alarm on it, but they didn't want to go that far with it. So.
Mm.
They might eventually, yeah. Okay. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just had a comment, Burlington is doing more purging this year. They purged my street at work for the first time in about 5 years.
Yeah.
And, cause I'm a dead end street there.
Yeah.
And, I spend $25 a month on water, and my neighbor spends about that much, and we've got 150, 200 feet of pipe serving us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it needs it.
Yeah, it needed it bad, yeah. And I think you got a lot of those areas of our problem.
Yeah. But I was talking to the kid doing the purging, he said they have started to purge all these dead end lines everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
okay, Misty, update on the entry sign,
Yep,
beautification?
Robbie was here today and, he had a little bit of a hard time getting the plants. He had to find a couple places, before he got them, but they are in and they are coming every other day and watering because of the drought right now, and they really want them to take hold and survive. So, they're working really hard to make sure that lives and looks really good. So I'm really excited to see that grow.
Okay, now update on our budget meeting.
We had a budget meeting April the 10th, to kind of discuss some preliminary things that, maybe wanted in the budget, adjust in numbers, and we will meet again May 15th, which is a Friday at 8:30. And the public, of course, is welcome, but we'll be much more firm on the numbers that are discussed at that one.
Okay, Trent, engineering report.
Thank you, Mayor. Heritage Glen, phase 5C.2, we've had a lot more conversations with the developer and they plan to get back out there and resume construction. However, I'm still awaiting the videos and testing at this point. I asked them yesterday, I had a conversation, they don't know the exact day, but they do want to move forward with getting that back up and finished. I'll come back to the Birch Street pump station in a second. Citgo plan review, I talked to Stonewall today about that, and they're trying to wrap up a few minor things. Hopefully I'll have a better update for you next month. For the Alamance County Parks, Misty talked with Nolan with Alamance County about the trail going on over by the pump station on 6-2. The parking lot was revised to be gravel instead of asphalt, and the fence was added for safety purposes. Porta johns will still be installed, and they haven't been installed at this point. They'll be behind a privacy fence. Picnic tables, some benches, and signage. The signage has been installed since that conversation. They're still looking to install some picnic tables and benches. They've worked on the natural surface, but they have some more of the natural surface that they'd like to complete. And all this money is being with a grant, so they said they have the money to complete the rest of the project under this grant, believing that they will finish either in late May or early June. Then for the City Hall, Misty and Dawn asked me to look into parking lot improvements when during the latest snowstorm, there was some deflection in the asphalt, and deflection by foot traffic, not by vehicular traffic, which is definitely a concern. With pumping and flexing in several locations, it was something that we want to look into. Although it's not an exact problem at this exact day, if it's untreated, it can get a lot worse and it will eat away at the subgrade underneath, and then it will become more expensive and become a lot harder to repair. While we were planning on doing those improvements, it made sense to look into some additional issues. One of those being a turnaround. So instead of coming in for council, we're having some people struggle to get in and out on those end parking spots where the trash cans are and stuff like that, adding a turnaround so that you can back out into that area and be able to get out a little easier. Some drainage improvements to hopefully alleviate the subgrade issue in the future. A lot is graded towards the center, and therefore that's why there's two long cracks that go right down the center strip. And you can actually see in that photo the dirt that collects towards the top left of the parking lot from where that is graded to, and there's no outlets at that point. And then since we are looking at doing improvements, ADA improvements to the current standard would be required. And so there have to be which we should do anyway, but add a dome and stuff like that, so they'll allow for ADA access. To complete all that with a preliminary, it has not been surveyed or designed. We're estimating about 70 grand to complete that work.
That the design or the whole construction?
That would be design and construction.
Design and construction.
Yes,
That would,
we asked for this number to discuss in the budget meeting.
that would be also the underlayment, because I know we do have water under there, so that would be.
Yeah,
fixing
and,
that.
and that's why it's an estimate, is I won't know exactly what's wrong under there until we pull up the first layer. Hopefully it's moved on and it was snow damage from where there was a lot of moisture sitting there for a long period of time, and it's kind of worked its way out during this period.
So you're anticipating some undercut.
I am anticipating some undercut. And that was included in that 70 grand, but obviously I won't know the extent. That was just a best guess at this point.
That'll be great. That'll be bringing the sidewalk too, I think. Is the sidewalk going to be changed, or the entrance right here for
The,
handicap access, or?
yeah, we would do a small adjustment. I wouldn't take up the whole sidewalk and redo everything. It'd just be where the handicap spots are.
Yeah.
Then I was asked to look into the radar sign data, since we haven't looked into it in quite a little time. The data was pulled back to January 1st of this year. And although I'd like some additional time to really digest the data, this is the raw data report of what was reported by the system. I mean, from traffic that goes through to violators counted, we have about 62% at the bridge and 49% at EM Hole on average. That is a misleading number because it does not grab every car that goes through those radars. We were grabbing about 2,000 cars per day. DOT reports about 11,000 per day passing that point. We believe that since cars are traveling in a thin line, the radar is only collecting when it turns off and on. So I'm thinking that during your peak times especially, you're having a lot of cars pass at one time, and it's not able to pick up all those cars.
We don't have anything in front. I know we used to get an amount that was more like that, 12,000, 13,000 cars. I just wanted to being obstructed. Yeah. Is it being obstructed by anything in the way?
When I was out there, it didn't seem like anything's in the way, but it very well could be something simple like a dirty lens, or
Right, that's
like Don alluded to earlier about a software
Upgrade.
update or something of that nature. It's unknown. That's just from the data that was grabbed this year. So it's hard to digest misleading data like that, where a lot more traffic is going through than what's being gathered. But the traffic that is being gathered, there is a lot of speeders in that data.
It's said the cars are very dense. If you look at the peak hour factor, it's basically constant traffic through there. So as he's saying, we have a group of 10 cars doing 31 miles an hour, that the system causes one car doing 31. And then you get a gap with a couple cars further apart doing 50, they're going to show up as two speeders. So we have to look into this a lot more.
So bottom line, what is all this doing for us? Anything?
The sign itself, as you come.
Well, the sign is visual and that
Yeah.
slows people down. But to me, this is just killing trees.
Yeah, we haven't done this in a couple of years. We wanted to see what it was. That's why we asked for it. Yeah, we don't kill these trees all the time. It's been over 2 years since we actually looked at this data, and I was just curious to see if it had picked up what the traffic changes were over 2 years.
But what can we do about it?
Not much, unfortunately. We give it to DOT, and they will work to what they can. But we can't do much with. But it's nice. you know, it's nice to know that the gut feel that it is getting more dense is correct. And, as we look at these, you know, this is the first time I've ever seen the constant traffic flow numbers that are this high, which is indicative of the fact that we have more cars than we used to. And, but as you say, there's
Well,
not
there's
much
more
more.
industry out there than we used to. But I know there was some talk before about putting another speed sign in on the northbound direction.
And,
I think that would be beneficial, like in front of Phil's house.
Oh, my.
Well, part of the reason that we did this originally was to get data, to see whether or not we need to internalize traffic enforcement within the village. In other words, hire somebody to pull in.
So is that what
Hire
it's
an
telling you?
officer. So the data originally didn't indicate that. Didn't indicate we needed to do anything. It's never been this high. And it's like we're alluding to here, it's something that's not jiving here.
Yes.
And what's wrong on January 25th? I mean, did we block the roads off or something? That's a huge outlier there.
Is that the snow? Is that the snowstorm?
That may be
That's the snowstorm.
Okay. That makes sense.
That's the snowstorm.
Is that outliers kind?
Gee,
Speeding was way down that day.
And one of the other things that we don't have in here that we used to, that we have to look at getting back, is the percentage that were 5 to 10 over, 10 to 15, and over 15 over, which, you know, tells you how bad the problem really is, which we don't have that data here. A lot of these people could just be doing 35 miles an hour, they'll show up as speeding under.
And I believe that that's attributed to a software upgrade because it was only giving the peak, the max speed that someone was going through every 15 minutes.
Yes.
Not
And
the increments of every vehicle passing.
And the other thing that it used to give us was we had the speed, final speed as opposed to sign. You know, the average one detected and the average passing the sign.
Yes.
So we could see the fact that people were slowing up. So, yeah. I think we probably need a complete software upgrade on these people.
I think if we're buying a new sign, another one from the same company, I think they should throw in or help us out with that and any training to find out how to get that data more, I suppose.
Misty, I did find my promotional emails from them, I'll forward them to you so you can get the number for the budget session.
Okay.
We can use this data once we clean it up to give DOT to advocate for the bypass though as well.
Oh, that makes
And,
sense.
Yeah, and if we have, one of the other things, if we have particular hours or times that we're getting consistent speed, is the sheriff will work on that data for us. You know, if it's between 10 and 11 every night, we've got a group of speeders, he'll put a patrol car here at our request. So, okay, thank you for this.
Right.
Butch?
Yep, so, we opened bids and I believe that you guys all have attached a certified bid tab for that work. The, lowest responsive bid was Conmet Contractors at $127,100. I would like to recommend moving forward with the lowest bidder, as they were the lowest bidder by a significant margin.
A lot.
What was your estimate?
Our estimate was very close to that 125.
What, okay.
Have you worked with this company? Do you know these?
I have worked with this
Okay.
company.
Where are they out of?
They're out of Graham.
Where are the other two out of?
C&J is Jerry, so obviously he does a lot of work with us.
Okay.
And we have confidence in his ability. And then Pipeline is a product of TA11. I think their central office is in Raleigh, but the
Yeah,
Pipeline's
they
out
have
of
a
Raleigh.
road. They must just have
Pipeline's out of
had a
Raleigh.
lot of work just to throw the number out there.
Yeah, and that's what it is they're doing 3 projects with me right now. And so out of getting one of their new guys training and helping me out with making sure that we get bids, they were submitting the bid. So that was just a number that they threw.
Do you have a timeline when they can start and be done, since we're having to burn out pumps every
If you
week?
were to award it today, I would send out the contract documents tomorrow. I would anticipate giving him 2 weeks to execute the documents. After that, then we would have to go ahead, give him the award and everything like that with the documents, and he can order his pumps. And the panel. Pump and panel lead times are pretty long. I couldn't tell you the exact length. Once they get in, then he can get started. We'd had a recon while we're waiting on the pumps, so that wouldn't hold us up.
I'll make a motion to go ahead with the lowest bid come there.
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Daylight at the end of the tunnel.
Thank you.
Between that and the strainer, we may get somewhere.
Maybe the strainer will help.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, Misty, you wanna give us the background on the annexation request?
I had a request, from a lady at Daybreak Trail, and you should be able to see it up there on the screen. There's Trader's Path and Daybreak Trail. There's a little subdivision here, there's, I think, 7 or 8 lots. They're sizable, about 11 acres, and they are, well and septic. But what I think, basically what they were, the reason for the call was they, after all of the snow and having to maintain those roads, the homeowners do, they really do not want to continue doing that. And so, they reached out to DOT. The DOT wasn't interested in taking over the road. And so then they reached out to us to see what it would entail to annex, would be a satellite annexation. They are not asking for water and sewer. They are asking for us to basically make road improvements and maintain their roads.
How many homes again?
So I believe that there are 8
I
home
drove in there,
sites.
I drove in there today and I counted 6.
They're mansions too.
6.
Yeah, they
I
are.
see 6,
They're
so I
right
think
The
there's,
guy who owns Steve's, smokehouse and all lives back in that area, if y'all know.
okay.
Is that off of?
It's straight off, yeah,
You can see on the left Alamance,
Yeah,
and that's where your
Yeah.
sunlight
Right.
is.
See
But
that?
it must be
Yeah.
5 miles of gravel road going in there, and the reason it hadn't been paved before now was they've got one man that lives out there, I guess it's the older man that was originally out there. He will not approve, he won't assign for them to, pave the roads, cause they wanted to pave the roads themselves.
Okay.
But he wouldn't agree, so they couldn't do it. So I don't know what we'd be getting into, but that's just the history that I know of it.
That's the old CR Staley farm, isn't it?
Part of that big house down on the main road,
How many,
Yeah.
miles of road are we talking about? Yeah.
She told me 0.6. I'm pretty sure it was 0.6. So not quite a mile. It's not quite a mile.
you start trying it, you think it is.
It's, yeah.
Yeah, it got something
Uh-huh.
on.
So,
Cause there is no water sewer back there.
there's not. Now, if ever you thought about it, I mean, you're right here at Ash. If ever you were thinking to, because I know Dogwood, has always wanted water and sewer out there, but that was just not something
It's feasible.
really feasible because it wouldn't balance out, you know, the amount it would take to spend, but
Those are pretty large lots back in there too.
they're about 11 acres apiece, I think.
A lot of land to cover with sewer.
Well, there are
water.
many farms is what
Yeah.
it was set up to be.
Yeah. So, and I have talked to Trenton and, Paul about this, and, you know, they have some recommendations if. But
I don't see getting involved in that, because it just sounds like a lot of, I mean, just the paving of it and all would be,
Phenomenal.
yeah,
Like it.
and it would have to be to village
Right.
standards, because then they would be a part of the village, even if it was a satellite
I guess that's
annexation.
the only way they could figure how to get around the person that won't sign or something. But that would be a big burden.
The lady that I spoke to said all the homeowners at that time had agreed. So I don't know what that means, I don't know, but, you know, it's,
So, I mean, it's obviously
Couple
your
of-
input.
Couple of items on the annexation piece, so since it would be a satellite or really any annexation, obviously the owners have to consent to that. So if there's 6 lots or 8 lots, they each have to sign off on wanting to come in. One of the issues is if you go to the back of the lots on Daybreak Trail, they're actually closer to the city of Burlington than they are to the village of Alamance. Obviously separated by a creek, but, so we would have to do an annexation ordinance, or an agreement with city of Burlington. Don't know that they would care one way or the other, but, we would have to go through that process and get an agreement for a line, for future annexation in that area, because they couldn't annex them because we would be closer, we can't annex them because at least the back lots would be closer to Burlington. So they
Kind of in
measure
no
all
man's
along.
land right now.
They are a little bit, you know, I don't know that, Burlington has any ideas to come across the creek there, probably not, but, it would at least be a conversation we would need to go through with them. So just the annexation piece is, has some hurdles and would take some time. And it's probably worth having a conversation at a high level with the city of Burlington at some point, not just about this location, but generally about any plans they may have to annex on the south side of the creek. So that's the annexation problem. There's also a road problem.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Trent.
Because, you know, to come in and to be annexed, they would have to bring the road up to standard.
Yeah.
It's, and that's, trying to not talk about it, and that sounds like it's a big number to bring it up to our standard,
Mhm.
right? As opposed to just paving an
Base
asphalt strip,
yeah.
that's some money too, but also just to bring it up to our standard would be a pretty healthy number. Not that they can't do it, but those were the two big things I think we saw was the cost on them. And really, if they're gonna maintain well and septic, and they're gonna have to pave the road anyway, I don't necessarily foresee that they would just want to come in so that they could pay more taxes, right?
In the end, they'd be better
I
off
mean,
just everybody get together and pave the road.
It's a heck of a package. You could pave your own road and pay us, and, you know,
But
tax.
they're
but-
saying, I don't know if one man can control that, they're saying one man wouldn't agree to.
Well, I think that was the agreement they had to start with when they opened that land up for those people. It seemed
They
to
were
me
told
that,
it was gonna be paid.
no, that they couldn't pave it.
Oh,
He
really?
didn't want it paved, whoever owned all that.
her specific words were they wanted this to be a public road. So they didn't have any maintenance, they just wanted it to be public so that it would be salted in the winter. She asked what benefits there would be to being brought in, which would be trash and recycle and yard waste and things like that.
All of the amenities.
Yeah.
If they do wanna bring it up to standard and they still want to come in and be annexed, and, you know, then they would also need to sign something as part of their annexation petition that we would not be obligated to run them water and sewer, as well. And then, of course, we need to get something worked out with City of Burlington.
We'd have to have 100% participation, like, we want everybody in on it.
Right.
What was that ballpark number? That you were- I'm just curious,
Couldn't even guess that.
because we're opening up a can of worms.
There's discrepancies on that distance from what was reported and what I
Okay.
had. But to bring it up to the 6 and 3 that is currently in our adopted standards.
Yep.
We'd be looking at like $500,000.
I'll be insane.
easily, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Thanks, but no thanks. Is that
no,
what you said there?
basically what we're telling you is they have to do it before we
Oh,
consider
okay,
it.
okay.
Yeah,
They would have to bring the road up to our standard, and then we could look at annexation. We go
Okay.
through the rest, but we would not put the cost for bringing the road up.
Yeah, and the main thing, I suggested to put it on the agenda because it's obviously a request that has come up. Just to make the board aware of that and kind of what the different hurdles are, so that if they do submit a petition, everybody kind of knows what's involved in that process.
well, that's good. Volunteer health.
Is that something that you would consider if for some reason they said that they would be willing to pave the roads? Would you be willing then to consider
If Burlington, well, we
annexing?
gotta go through the Burlington first to see what
They're gonna have
that.
to bring it up to standards first.
Right, right. So I'm gonna relay that information, but I know that the first question will be, if we were to do that, would you then be willing to take us and maintain our roads after that?
Well, that's true.
No
We
guarantee.
we still don't know because we haven't talked Burlington.
Yeah, we got.
Yeah, but assuming Burlington approved, probably it's financially advantageous to us, because they're high-value properties, we get more power bill money on the road. We get, add a little bit to population, the sales tax and all. It's probably advantageous, but we'd have to run the numbers. But first, see if they'd be willing to do the road, and then we'll do our homework.
I mean, if they do rather than traffic, I would anticipate, just guessing, maybe it would probably be minimal on an ongoing basis, because there's just not gonna be much traffic.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, if they're willing to do that, and everything else falls into place, then certainly consider it.
Okay, moving on, you want to present your budget amendment for the triangle payment?
So we had the road projects in 2024. Cardinal Lane was a part of that, and it got pushed back repeatedly, and it was not budgeted for specifically in this fiscal year. So we are having to make an adjustment in the budget to be able to pay the check for Triangle. It's not that it's any money lost or gained or anything. It's just that money was there. We knew we were going to spend it. We just didn't know when that project was gonna be completed. So, because there was not a specific line item for that project, we're just gonna put it into streets and pay it out of that. So we have moved, added the fund balance.
How much is that?
That was, the check to Triangle is $215. And then we will receive back $1338 from sales tax. 215,000 for Cardinal.
So we're just shoring up the books and moving money from one line item to another. And we were
Be able
always
to
budgeted and
expense
planned
it
to
out
spend
of that line item, yes.
Okay, any other questions on it? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the budget amendment as presented.
I'll make a motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Give me a second.
A lot of things to do on this.
Uh-huh, yes.
Here you go, Misty.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. See, get it off my desk immediately.
There you go.
Okay, water and sewer
So-
fund budget.
This one, this one is, a little bit complex, but the first thing to note is that this is not any money that has been spent, that has been moved. There's no physical movement of money. This has to do with Black Mountain. So we had 3 NCCMT accounts. We had Power Bill, ARPA, and General Fund. And when we transitioned into Black Mountain, NCLM's best practice is, yes, go,
Collapse all the line items.
yes. So we only want 1 NCCMT account.
Mhm.
So when everything went into that, the way that it was being handled in the books looked different than when everything moved over. So they put it into one account and then moved the money to distribute it properly and balance out everything. So
This is a
It's-
byproduct of our software upgrade.
yes,
Yes, which
It
is very
is.
common when dealing with migrating accounting software.
it is a little harder to explain, but just, I think the major thing is that it is a general ledger issue. No physical movement of cash was moved out. This is just, as they say, as they've told me several times, it's truing up exactly what's in the accounts to match exactly what's in our general ledger.
Yep.
So that's what we had to do to.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I'll take a motion to approve as submitted.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Sign this one.
Then the last one, the chart of accounts. This is not a, budgeting thing. This is simply saying, so we went from, and I apologize that it is so tiny. We went from, a multitude of line items and accounts and QS1. And this is what Black Mountain has created for us.
Yeah.
So
we
this
clean-
is our solid base,
Mhm.
and then as we go along, if we need a project,
we
you
can
know,
add, yep.
yes, we can add a line or what have you, but this is just you saying it is okay that we have shrunk the line items, that, this is the setup in Black Mountain.
Yeah.
So
So
it.
this is another byproduct of the conversion of the software, and we're using the
Yes.
opportunity to clean up line items that we no longer need or necessary to
Absolutely,
our
Big difference,
services.
isn't it?
Yeah.
yes,
Well, if you recall.
No,
Ben
we
Love,
never
his
removed
line
them.
items
We had $0 line items.
all over the place,
Yeah.
for 10 years
Yeah,
plus.
Yes.
yeah, no, this is another
It's a
common
lot
practice
cleaner.
during
It looks
conversion.
good.
yeah.
It looks good.
It's easier to
It
do it,
is.
it's easier to do it during a conversion, and do one-stop shopping.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, so that is, just basically your, and, Anna Etheridge had said, she said, you know, she wished she had got it to you sooner, but we have really just finished, setting everything up, so. And if any of you have questions and there's any point you wanna come in and look through that general ledger and look at the line items, I'll print you out a general ledger
Now, there's your
report.
thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
11 by 17.
Yes, yes.
You have to get Trent, do you want them other big
So I'll make a
pages like you got
motion.
over here?
I'll make a motion to approve the new chart of accounts in Black Mountain.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll now open it up to public comment on any issues at all. Again, the microphone's not working, but just stand up and announce your name and address, and you can talk on any subject.
Phil Cheek, 4312 South End City Highway 62. I am curious how much the plants were around the sign. Did we get a final bill on that?
Today, so the plants were right at the 1,300, which he had, that was his estimate for us. I think it was 1,325 was his estimate, so that was, he was able to get them from Raleigh. And his,
Plants.
yes,
And then how much for his labor?
that I think is probably gonna come in at about another it's gonna be, I think his bill is at 2,000. He has not sent it in yet, we just had a conversation today.
So 700 labor, what we're.
That was about what it was, it's between 2,000 and 2,500 for the complete total bill.
That includes all the maintenance that's going on now, with
Right
cutting
now,
out
yes.
and watering and making sure that they are, they take.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
And that was about his estimate when, I don't know, I didn't write it down last month when we talked about it.
That was, so he basically had sent in, the 1,300 and change for the plants and everything, and that included the soil but he did not really estimate the labor, cause he wasn't sure on that yet.
That's what we trending there. Last month, we talked about the NCDOT grant for a project study.
The grant was submitted,
Okay.
but I'm unaware of any progress since then.
So nothing done on that. Okay. How about the sealed bids for the shed that we were trying to sell?
We did sell it. We had 2 bids, one at 1,500, one at 1,900.
Who got it?
County line wastewater,
The other bid was brilliant.
brilliant equipment.
Okay, any other public
I
comment?
thought it was gonna break.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, any other public comment? Okay, before we move on, moving on to the other business, board business, I'd like to, read this email into the official record. For those of you who've been around a while, you know that for several years, we've had a problem with the reimbursement on the cellular dialers for our emergency calls on pump stations. It got messed up 2.5 years ago or so with Nick. He signed as the incorrect person or something, and the state put it in limbo. It has been in limbo for those 2 years, and this was ARPA money that was tied up on this, but they didn't ever approve it, and we had paid it, so Misty finally took care of that whole mess, and I got this email from Paige Hafford at the DEQ, who administers all this stuff, and she goes, "Hello, thank you for your submission of the documents we spoke about on the phone, Misty. These documents are perfect. It shows the shift in funds as well as the financial interfaces in the transition and the changeover. You did your village proud, and I enjoyed filling out the report having no findings. Respectfully, L. Page Hafford, the OCI Finance and Business Compliance." So we finally have those funds released so we can actually apply them to the project we're doing on the force main. But I just want to thank Misty for finally getting this one cleared up.
That was a long time.
Good job. Good job. Did we get interest on it?
We are.
We're talking
2
straight to
years
can't
of
pass the
business?
budget.
That particular one was
Always thinking money.
30-some thousand, I think.
Yeah.
That was tied up with the-
I was just so happy to get this from the state. No negative findings at all from DEQ on it, so. Okay, at this point, any other board business?
Yes. I would like to ask about what came out of the roof. Didn't you were gonna talk
Yes.
to them about the roof?
I did, at the, so that was at your budget hearing, or, I'm sorry, the budget retreat. We had one estimate, for the 13,000, and then Bradley Qualls sent in an estimate. We did get one from him, and it came in at about $5 under 13,000. So,
Pretty
Slightly
close.
different spectrum, so what we're gonna do is we'll try to put together a quick bid spec document, and we'll just, put it out for bid so everyone's bidding on the same job.
Okay, that's good.
And,
Can I make a comment on that,
sure.
just real fast? With the roof you have here, and Bradley may have hit on this, I used to work for him, I know him pretty good, but y'all have Horizon shingles. Now, you're talking about the roof on this building, right?
Yes.
They're
So
not-
if you were to claim that on insurance, I know everybody gets scared when you say that, but Horizon shingles, if they find any sort of damage at all, they have to replace the entire roof, because they don't make Horizon shingles.
So we did try to go through insurance and they declined.
Really?
The age
Yeah.
of shingles and they call it wear and tear, not, storm damage.
Whistle down.
Yeah.
I do know
Appreciate
that
the
about
comment.
these shingles, because he gets a lot of business that way with Verizon, because they cannot replace them. They have to replace the whole roof.
Maybe I should call the insurance
Maybe
company
appeal
back
it,
and,
maybe appeal it, I don't know, maybe we've had a storm since the last time you.
yeah.
I'm gonna admit
Be
that my
worth a try.
background is more in auto than homeowners. You'd have a question there about replacing the whole roof. Sometimes they'll do one side at a time because you can only see one side. So you're talking about
He
doing it
said
way.
that the damage that they photographed they could replace that, but it would be less than the deductible, so they didn't feel that it would be, anything that they would put through.
And I'm gonna tell you the handful of times you can't get, an insurance company's not gonna cover the quality of the shingles if the shingles failed. There
Okay,
has to be an independent, weather-related
okay.
damage to it, and not just because the shingles are no good. They're not gonna cover it.
Gotcha.
Okay, Ken, you had a comment?
I had a couple of things. I see all these fancy pictures on the wall. Are we gonna talk about them, or that is a result of the meeting of the recreation committee?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah, so these are some ideas that, James had for us to go over. So this is super preliminary. It is something that we wanted to talk to the historical museum about, cause that's the piece of land that we were looking at. So we're gonna try to work with them, make a presentation to them, hopefully in May, to see what their response to that is, and then try to move forward from there.
Okay, so that's an ongoing thing.
It
Yeah.
is, yes.
And then there was one other thing, since that building sold, I know Arnold brought this up once, that's gonna leave kind of an open, when they move that out, anybody can drive down through there. We were talking about maybe putting a fence in there, putting some rocks in there.
Yeah, that's part of the landscaping, that's the 20,000, we put in a budget hole for the whole area down there, once we get rid of the shed, what we want the landscaping and any fencing to look like.
Okay?
Did, county line indicate when they're gonna get the shed out?
It's gonna be gone tomorrow.
That's some barricades or something.
Okay, any other board business? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried
Vote.
6-0.
There's no anchors that's in each corner, in concrete, they're gonna have to cut them off.
Yes, you let us know.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Report from the HOA. They all have an expert.
Yeah. I would.
Yes, sir.
Don't
Thank you so much.
Let him be aware of it, though.
Yeah.
If you try to move it on the wrong back, it'll rip the floor out of it.
Man.
Oh,
See,
It
we got one
would.
of those corners a piece of rebar, but then just saw it off.
okay. That is, I will reach out.
I went down and looked at the film, went down and looked at it, and I thought, well, whoever moved it, I hope they looked at that before they hook it to a truck so they
That's what I
can
had.
strip it.
Wow, that would just tear.
It would.
Alright, so what contract am I putting together?
That's-